Shalom and welcome to Challenging Torah, project of the Malibu Jewish Center and Synagogue. This week's Torah begins with an essential challenge. Rebecca, who has been barren and asks God for children, and her husband entreats to the Lord, and she's pregnant, and she's a horrible pregnancy, and she comes to God and she says, Im ken, lama ze anochi. Translated as, if my life is like this, why do I exist? This is the question. Why do we exist in a life that appears to be filled with struggle? What's the point? Or what's the plan, God? What am I doing in this lifetime? And Rebecca, to her credit, goes to inquire of the Lord, who says to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and the 2 peoples shall be separated from your bowels. The one people will be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Wow. 2 nations in her womb, 2 tendencies, qualities, a yetzer hatov, a yetzer hara, our inclination for good and our inclination for evil inside of every human being. And so whether it's differentiated into twins or it's the struggle within our own soul, each one of us must ask, how are we walking through this life? And im ken, lama ze anochi? If so, why am I here? And so this is the undercurrent of the entire parsha. And as we see this struggle between the Yetzer HaTov and the Yetzer Hara, we can put it, and Yetzer means tendency to good or tendency to bad. Nothing is totally good or totally bad in our innards. How do we make choices as to whether we go down the not so good road or the good road? How do we make choices if we go with the plan or against the plan? In the words of Musar, which we are studying this year as part of this challenging Torah, in the words of a Musar teacher, Eliyahu Dessler, each one of us has bechira points, choice points along the journey. And we have a limited amount of free will. In his view, we have free will at certain moments of choice, but much of our free will is really influenced by many things as we struggle within between the good and the bad. What are these things? One, well, clearly in the story of Esau, our appetites, our physical yearnings and appetites influence us. We say, oh, if it feels good, do it. I wouldn't go that quickly. And so here we have Esau who comes and he says, feed me, that red pottage, for I am famished. Really, you're that hungry? And Jacob says to him, fine, sell me your birthright. And we know that Esau says, behold, I'm at the point of death. What difference does it make? What profit is my birthright to me? And he sells him his birthright. He gives up his authentic self just for a bowl of beans. Do we do that? When we give in to our habits, our addictions, our need for an instant gratification? And Esau takes the wrong path. Jacob is cunning, is clever, is a bit deceptive, and has to struggle with his own inner impulses from then on. And so one of the things may be our addictions or our tendencies, but there's also our heritage of our family constellation. We hear the words that say, well, Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Clearly, we are affected in our actions and our choices by where we stand in the family constellation. Our habits. We say mitzvah leads to another mitzvah, and a wrongdoing leads to another wrongdoing. And so we build habits into our lives. The second time we do something, the third time it's already a habit, either to the good or to the bad. And our free will is not that strong. the point of decision as before that habit begins, or to promote a good habit. And then we get to the place that says our own inner tendencies that we're born with, that we're comfortable with. Do we stay in our comfort zone when making a free will choice? And the boys grew, it says, and Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a quiet man living in tents. Ish tam, quiet, innocent man. The story could have ended with him in the tent, quietly, with his mommy, till the end of time. And Esau, the good hunter, and it wouldn't have been such an interesting story, and certainly not God's plan. Because that's the next piece. There is a larger plan that we don't even know how we fit into as we make choices in our life. But our choices are indicated usually by the turn to the good. But sometimes there is deception. And so we see the story with Jacob and his mother. Rebecca, who intuits the plan, says to her son, dress up in these animal skins, we know the story, and fool your father. And he says, no. I will be seen as a deceiver, kemitatea, a trickster. And his mom says, don't worry about it. I'll take it on. And so the irony is that in his dressing in these skins and presenting himself to his father, maybe Jacob takes on the part of himself that he struggles with, that he couldn't quite own. The skillful hunter, the person who knew how to take care of himself. He puts out his hands, and sometimes we deceive ourselves with our voice. Do we speak to ourselves in an authentic voice? But when his father asks, who is it? Because the hands are the hands of Esau, the voice is the voice of Jacob. Jacob says, Ani. I am. And in that moment, even though it's filled with deception on an outer level, Jacob becomes whole and equipped for the rest of his journey. And so it's not a happy ending. There's a struggle. His brother is furious. His parents send him away. And Jacob begins truly the adulthood of his life, where he will continue to struggle as we continue to struggle with our choice points, with our struggling inside of all our twin being. And that's the challenge of Torah for this week. Shabbat Shalom. Let's study the challenge together.